What's up, guys? It's your girl Brandy here, back with another video. If you are new here, my name is Brandy, and I pretty much just kind of do travel recaps, story times, pretty much just lifestyle stuff. So I'm not going to keep you waiting too long. By the title of this video is going to be about my experience while living in Georgia and why I ultimately decided to leave the Atlanta metropolitan area. So just to give you guys a little bit of background about me, so I was born in Texas. I lived in Texas until I was about 3. Then I moved to the Atlanta area when I was 3, and then I lived there for about 10 years. Probably about 7th-ish grade, I moved back to the Dallas area, and I stayed there middle school, high school, undergrad. Okay, and then after undergrad, I went back to Georgia for grad school. I was in Middle Georgia. And then after Middle Georgia, I know it's a lot. After I finished grad school in Middle Georgia, I moved to the Atlanta area for a year. And then I moved back home to Texas. And then I'm here in Las Vegas. But let's just talk about why. Well, now that y'all have the understanding, we can kind of get into what pretty much went wrong. Okay, so let's talk about a lot of the positives of living in a city like Atlanta. So you hear it all the time. It's literally Black Hollywood, and they say that for a reason. It's something about being a person of color and seeing people around you represented in ways that you would have never thought possible. Because again, like I said, I lived in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and I went to a primarily Black and Latino high school, and I did not have any Black teachers until, well, I had one in 9th grade. I didn't have any more Black teachers until my senior year of college. So even though it's like a diverse city Dallas is, you really don't see yourself represented a lot within like government and, in those really positions that matter. You do in certain areas like Cedar Hill, Duncanville, things like that, and DeSoto, but in general it's not like Atlanta. Like Atlanta is it's diverse, but you can go into different suburbs like, trying to think, Stockbridge, Riverdale, McDonough, Doraville, Roswell, Sandy Springs, all these areas, even the suburbs of Atlanta, you see the police, you see the doctors, you have, therapists, you have just anything that you can think of. Now, I will say that I do agree with someone saying that once you get to those elite levels, then you start kind of saying, okay, it's not a lot of us. But in general, I feel you do see yourself very represented. And that's a very big thing for me. I don't know about a lot of people, but I know for me, especially if I want to stay somewhere and meet someone and have a family, because I want them to be able to say, hey, okay, you can do this. It's more so like a cultural, personal thing for me, but that was definitely a very, very, very positive thing. But with being around people of color, there's some things that happen, and we know, I know it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's just some things we know, who if you know. Okay, so another one of the pros, I will say that when I was out there, because I am in the mental health field, it was very, very easy for me to find work. I went to an HBCU in grad school, so when I moved to the Atlanta area, it just felt like it was very easy for me. I was, a therapist, so it just, once I ended up leaving my job as a child and adolescent therapist, it didn't take me that long to find another job. Like, I had options, I will say that. And again, I think that just comes with being, culturally represented. Like I said, in an area where you're represented, people can look and say, okay, that's HBCU grad, or again, you just have a lot more options, right? Let me see. Another positive, there's a lot to do, a lot of entertainment, a very, very healthy nightlife. I'm trying to think. Yep, very lot to do, healthy nightlife, lower cost of living. That's a very good thing. You can go out there and pretty much buy a home. And honestly, guys, if you want to live you can go and live downtown or midtown or somewhere for a decent price, in my opinion. Because now that I've lived in Dallas and I've lived in other major cities, I'm like, okay, Atlanta's not too bad. It's really not too bad. So you could go get you a nice high rise. For real, you can go get you a decent high rise for like under $1,700 versus in DC or any other major cities like LA, or even in Dallas. If you want something nice, you're gonna be spending that 2K plus, 2,100 plus. Okay. So again, like I said, really love the culture of Atlanta. Lots to do. Ultimately very representative of who I am as a Black professional, and that's something that I was very much just amazed by. Lower cost of living, and there were a lot of good job opportunities, especially if you're in tech, guys. All right, so now let's kind of go into the reasons why I decided to leave. Okay, so as somebody who works professionally with people of color, we have very unique challenges. I'm going to say this with as much grace and professionalism as I can. Our community has unique challenges, and oftentimes I found myself almost in a situation where it was overtly cultured, if that makes sense. So let me explain. You come to in every race, there are just certain people who just make your race just like, okay, well, why? What are you doing? And I found myself constantly having to defend myself. I found myself constantly in these like either passive aggressive or aggressive situations. It was just a lot. It was a lot for me. And I loved what I did, because again, I felt as much as I was going through with like my clients and my work and the things that I was having to run into, I just felt this sense of like, okay, I'm helping, like I'm actually contributing to something within my community, and that felt good. But long story short, unique challenges, and when you have people of color in poverty, or just people in general, impoverished area, there's crime, there's a lot. Okay, so in my opinion, I wouldn't say that I experienced like any crime or anything like that, and I generally felt safe, but people, I don't know. It's just like, how it be with people and their attitudes. So I was in career services, and I just found myself running into a lot of people who just, it was just very tough. It's just very tough work in general. So I will say again, I'm one of them people, I know this is going to sound crazy. I love my people, but too much, I can't do it, because there are certain things that come with that. To piggyback off of that, I also found it very hard to make friends, because I don't know about y'all, but when I was in Atlanta, it just seemed like everybody's very like about themselves, very cliquey. They already kind of have their own kind of friends, and I just found myself like, I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm not gonna go into detail because I don't want these videos to be too long, but when I was in college, I just remember all the girls always asking like, what is Brandy wearing, and da-da-da-da, and like, just things like that, just always trying to be about the image, when I just wanted to have fun. Like I get it now, like you want somebody who's presentable, but it just felt very like surface level regarding a lot of the friendships. Like it was very hard for me to actually find somebody that I truly connected with. Another thing I will say, to go into my next point about why I decided to leave. Even though there is a lot of job opportunities, I felt like I got a lot of job opportunities. The opportunities didn't pay that much. And so the lower cost of living, and then you have this like lower minimum wage, and just these employers were like, here, just take this. So at one point, all I could afford to do was go to work and go home, pay my bills, and not do anything. So I couldn't even enjoy the nightlife or anything like that. Next thing, traffic. I am a firm believer that traffic is going to, your ride to work, traffic is going to make or break your experience there, because they're not kidding. As I lived there when I was a kid, and I came back as an adult, I can say this about Dallas and Atlanta. The traffic is much worse. I don't know what's going on. Like, you used to be able to go through the back roads of Atlanta. If you know, you know. Used to be able to go through the back roads of Atlanta, and kind of sideswipe the traffic. You can't even do that anymore. It would take me 20 minutes to get to work in the morning, and it would take me an hour to get home in the evening. So it's very important that you really map out where you stay, because after I got home, I was drained. I didn't want to do anything. Literally, all I wanted to do was just stay home and just not do anything, but I couldn't do that. So I would just say this: if anybody is thinking of moving to Atlanta, just make sure you have a good job, make sure that you're close to where you stay, or at least you have a decent car that can get you to where you need to go. I would say just be very careful with the people that you meet and the friends that you make. Y'all, that city that I also want to say this, scam city. Be aware of the scam. There's going to be a lot of people trying to scam and do all kind of stuff. It just is what it is. I have never seen the amount of scamming that I have seen until I got to Atlanta. I have so many story times about how I got scammed by hairstylists out there. So I might do that as the next video, but those are pretty much the reasons why I left. The job opportunity, the traffic was draining me. I just felt very beat up, and I just didn't feel like I was connecting with anyone there. And yeah, but that's pretty much why I left. I just wanted something. Now that I work remote, I'm pretty sure that it probably wouldn't have been as bad, because again, y'all, sometimes it depends on the mindset that you have when you're in a certain situation. And in that situation, my mindset was just not the greatest. I couldn't enjoy Atlanta like I wanted to. But if I had to do it all over again, I think it would be a lot different. But that's pretty much why I left, and I just wanted kind of like a difference in scenery. Atlanta is beautiful. It's gorgeous. I love mountains, and the Blue Ridge area is a really super duper nice area that I often go to. I would visit. If I had to live anywhere, I would want to live somewhere like that. But the thing about that is, if you know, you know, it's not a very, I'm not going to say it's not a Black girl friendly area, but you definitely don't see a lot of people there. Like, okay, well, let me just tell you, me and my band went up there one time, and they were having like some kind of sheriff appreciation day or something like that. Like, there was a bunch of kids at school buses, and there was sheriff officers everywhere. Me and my man was like the only Black people in there, and there was just something just about that. I'm sorry, if you know, you know. Like, I have no problem standing on my own in certain spaces, because I was in the military and I was a minority a lot of the time. But it's just something very eerie about it, you know. You do feel this sense of comfort when you see people like you. But that's pretty much it. Just tired of the traffic. Wasn't really making any connections. Didn't really like the jobs and the pay at that time. And that's pretty much it. So I'll be back with another video. I think I'm going to do that story time about how I got scammed in Atlanta. I'll see y'all in the next video.